Good morning and welcome to our online service. This morning, of course, is Remembrance Sunday, so we're going to be reflecting on that a little bit this morning. This morning at church it is Cafe Church, so things will be a little different with the online service as well this morning. Some pictures for you to look at and reflect on, and we'll be having a lot more sort of conversational learning at the church this morning, so I'll try and reflect that a little bit in what we look at this morning online. So at church this morning we're going to be taking a look at 5 different images that have been produced, and we're calling this Remembrance Day art. So the idea here is that you take a look at these pictures and ask yourself, what do these pictures say to me? How do they make me feel? What emotions do they evoke? What does it make me think about in terms of remembrance? And I'm not going to comment on these, I'm just going to pop them up on the screen so that you can look at them and reflect.
Matthew chapter 5. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me."
So the question I want to present this morning is, how do we think that this Bible passage helps us to understand why Remembrance Day is so important? I'm going to play the passage again so you can think about that in the context of the question, and then I'll share some of my thoughts with you. So let's listen again to those few verses from Matthew 5.
Matthew chapter 5. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me."
The first thing that comes to mind when I read these verses is that the world that we live in is not the world as God intended it to be. Whilst the passage is often talking about things in a spiritual sense, like a spiritual hunger and thirst, we can't help but be reminded that there are those in this world who hunger and thirst in a very real and physical way. Whilst we may mourn in a spiritual sense, there are many, many people in our world who are mourning the loss of a loved one, whether that be a recent loss or this morning perhaps someone lost to a war many decades ago. We're reminded that people are persecuted and are struggling because of the actions of others. And this has never been more real for us as a generation than at the moment with the conflict in the Ukraine. Verses 7 and 9 of our reading remind us of what our role should be in this. It talks about being merciful, being pure in heart, and being peacemakers. This passage tells us some of the reasons and attitudes that explain why war is still happening today. People are being persecuted and treated badly. And when we have exhausted all peaceful means, sometimes, sadly, conflict becomes unavoidable. But this is because of the hearts of leaders and politicians that have been hardened against the things of God. However, God is a merciful God, and he knows what's on people's hearts and whether they are true and pure. He will protect and be with those who have to fight to save others. Remembrance Day is important as we remember those who have died in conflict, but not only those who have died, but also those who have had their lives affected by physical injuries or lasting emotional or psychological trauma as a result of the things that they have seen and done. We also remember their families as they try to deal with their grief or the sadness of how much their loved one has changed, or how their lives have changed as a result of war. We remember the innocent people who are affected by wars being fought today, and the impact that war has on them. The Bible passage is an example to us of all the reasons why Remembrance Day is as relevant now as it was over 100 years ago when the First World War came to an end. And the passage also reminds us that the only way to find a truly peaceful existence is through Jesus. When he is at our core, greed turns into humility, mourning turns into comforting, hunger and thirst are satisfied by God, hatred turns to mercy, anger turns to peace, and all who are persecuted will be called children of God and will inherit the kingdom of heaven.
Beauty for brokenness, hope for despair. Lord, in the suffering, this is our prayer. Bread for the children, justice, joy, peace. Sunrise to sunset, your kingdom increase. Shelter for fragile lives, cure for their ills. Work for the craftsmen, trade for their skills. Land for the dispossessed, rights for the weak. Voices to plead the cause of those who can't speak. God of the poor, friend of the weak, give us compassion, we pray. Melt our cold hearts, let tears fall like rain. Come change our love from a spark to a flame. Refuge from cruel wars, havens from fear, cities for sanctuary, freedoms to share. Peace to the killing fields, scorched earth to green. Christ for the bitterness, his cross for the pain. God of the poor, friend of the weak, give us compassion, we pray. Melt our cold hearts, let tears fall like rain. Come change our love from a spark to a flame. Rest for the ravished earth, oceans and streams, plundered and poisoned, our future and dreams. Lord, end our madness, carelessness, greed. Make us content with the things that we need. God of the poor, friend of the weak, give us compassion, we pray. Melt our cold hearts, let tears fall like rain. Come change our love from a spark to a flame. Lighten our darkness, breathe on this flame, until your justice burns brightly again, until the nations learn